This one I have brought in front of you back in the beginning of March in terms of a tobacco-free parks policy. Again, we have kind of a draft policy on the back. If this is something the council wants to move forward with, we'll probably incorporate this into our other parks policies, so we just have the one. I did include some additional literature from tobacco-free youth recreation in regards to tobacco-free parks. Some of the highlights that I wanted to address in this particular one is on the second page, there's a number of communities that already have tobacco-free outdoor recreational facilities. And we've got Alexandria, Baxter, Brainerd, Duluth, Ramsey, Sartell, Spicer, St. Cloud. So a lot of communities around the area and of similar size that currently have this in place, and that the policies are currently working. 88% of the parks directors have indicated that there's no change in park usage, and that there's almost a 60% report there's cleaner park areas. So the main goal of this really would be to make sure the parks don't have litter, cigarette butts, and so on and so forth. But I wanted to open it up for discussion just to see how the council's feeling is towards something as this, and give staff direction on which way we want to pursue. If you want us to pull together an actual policy to incorporate it into our other one, or what your feelings are on it.
Well, Greg, I was looking at number 5 on the bottom of the policy. Any person found violating this policy is subject to immediate ejection from the facility. So if you're smoking in the park, you're going to ask them to leave. You come back tomorrow and smoke in the park, you ask them to leave.
Sure.
So there's no consequences?
There's no fine associated with it. Correct. It's more, it's a policy that we would have if they would be asked to leave the facility or put out the cigarette at that point.
Reagan, as far as enforcement, has Chief Shermer's said anything about it, about how we're going to enforce this or monitor it? I'm sure they're not going to have nothing to take them out of
True.
but,
True.
To me, it seems like it's going to be hard to enforce it.
Right. It's going to be more complaint driven. If there's somebody that's smoking, obviously with the no smoking sign at the park, most people are going to respect that. There's going to be a few that aren't. And ideally, if there's other patrons there, they would remind them that it is a no smoking park. But ultimately, it would come down to if they've been asked and they still don't put it out there on the complaint room, where the police would then be called to.
We had it when I was up there, and I don't recall any issues. There's usually someone around that's one of the part-time staffers that's there. We have people that are running our rent programs. You just tell them to put it out, and people usually do it. It's pretty self-regulating, so we didn't have a big issue.
I just don't have to even down Maple Island Park, because we can walk through there by the one park bench. I bet doesn't have a carton of cigarette butts laying on the ground beside it. So, it's
There's all the rec programs is where we have the issues with the kids.
On that last page, it says,
what we do it, I just want to see other parks to do it. Start picking and choosing parks.
last page, it says our existing policy is working. The communities who have this, and 88% of park directors reported no change in the park usage. 71 reported less smoking in parks. 58% reported cleaner park areas. So it seems like the program works with just putting up signs saying it's illegal. So I think a lot of people will comply because they don't want to just go up publicly and do things that are going against, the law. So I think it will benefit.
Reagan, do you know how current this is? Because I see up to 100 signs for community free.
Yeah, this is already a couple years old. I don't remember the date on it, but it's already a couple years old. I want to say it was June of 2006 is when this was printed.
So it's a deal breaker, but it'd be sure nice to be able to get hold of it.
True. And we would explore that at that time if council wanted to move forward with it. But This did go in front of the park board, and they did recommend approval of this, but I wanted to obviously run through the work session here before we go too far with it.
Next agenda.
I would think so.
Okay.
Okay.
Golf course updates? Greg and Dan?
I included, Mayor, if you'd like to go.
No, you can start off.
I included with the information of a memorandum and some updated documents regarding the golf course. One of the things that was talked about the last meeting is if we're going to eliminate the golf advisory board that Councilmember Boyer brought up, we'd like to see something as good or better than what we had. And I think that's what we've done. We've taken a look at the superintendent's job description, position description. I did receive a couple position descriptions from other cities that have municipal golf courses in the state, trying to incorporate some of the things that were in theirs that I thought made sense here. A lot of the position description is the same as it was, but we tried to enhance it and update it. We also did have a policy, policy 57, that had the rules and regulations, but we talked about policies, procedures, rules and regulations of the golf course. And again, we tried to update that. Everything that was that is listed in the ordinance that talks about what the golf advisory board was to do is being done by either the city council has to do some things, or the golf superintendent, and then some. So I think there's, I'm hopeful that the new position description and the rules, regulations, policies, procedures actually does a better job with where we're at for managing the golf course.
I had been talking with, as I said at our last meeting, I've been talking with Dan and with Lori and with Randy and with golf extravaganza members and other community members. Did meet with representatives of the golf extravaganza group and discuss the possibilities. And as you can see, this is a draft, so it's not something we're jumping on right now. It's just a plan. And it addresses my concerns, and it seemed to address the extravaganza concerns. If we do it somewhat similar to this, they have a council member that is a liaison. We did talk, I had asked Tony regarding if we could have a liaison on the extravaganza committee, and the league said that'd be a very great thing to do because they want to say it's legal, but typically the league won't give you an opinion either way, whether it's legal or illegal. They will counsel you on it, and they said they didn't think that would be a very good idea, and I have that on my phone yet if anybody wants to see it. So my thought was if we created this where we had a liaison, and then that would be the conduit between the golf course and the city council or the administrator. They would meet with the city administrator or the public works director and the liaison, and Randy set an amount of time during the years. We discussed, and it's in here, meeting with the president or each league as far as Canadian Cup, the ladies, and addressing any of their issues or concerns, then having Randy reporting or whoever the superintendent is reporting to us 4 times a year. And my concern is what we had didn't seem to be working, and it seems like we've got some pretty good buy-in on if we would adopt a plan similar to this.
What I suggest is, if you have any adjustments you'd like to see, we did pick up a few typos and a few, formatting thing, but send it off to, certainly send it to Randy to have him take a look at it. Any other staff members, Greg looked at it a little bit. And then also send all the rules, regulations, policies and things, not only to the extravaganza committee, but also the chairs of each one of the leagues, just to get their comment. This is what we think is a good plan for the golf course, and what do you think? And then get their comments back in 2-3 weeks, bring it back to you guys in a month or so, and figure out where we're at with the the description and all the rules and regulations and all that. You know, what I took is 3 different rules and regs. So, and they had a limited membership policy that was done in like 1991. It says we're going to limit our members to no more than 600, and if it's more than that, you know, we're going to have a whole plan and how to narrow down. Well, we haven't been near that in a long time, so I adjusted that pretty substantially in this. But and then they had a whole policy on golf carts, I should say. So I tried to get those all into one place. So you know, you start looking around in the policy book, and you have to go all over the place for one little area of the city. That's not a good plan. So put
And
all the
I have-
policies into one place.
I have a list of concerns that people had thrown at me for discussion, and we discussed them with the extravaganza group. We got clarification on a lot of them. I think they're much more comfortable with the situation, and we told them that this review was not only checking financial, it was going to be checking on how the employees out there were doing, and were we making our golfers happy, and investigate if they're switching courses, why would they switch courses, and things like that. So I think it would be a good accountability factor also, just with reporting.
So with changing this here, does this have to go to the union too then for approval for changing the job description or no?
Position description is a management right.
One thing I kind of hear, that, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but I thought we talked about the half-year membership at that one meeting work session that we were at here. And didn't we say at that time that we wanted to switch it from like August 1st to July 15th?
I just looked at the current, what was it, says July.
I think it was August 1st, I think it was August 1st last time, but we had, we had that discussion.
It used to be July.
For that half membership, so that you got enough coming on the front end and you still have time on the back end, whereas August is kind of like a couple of weeks out there.
Currently, so.
We can check.
Yeah, we can adjust that.
It's in the pay schedule, so.
Currently, it was August 1, that's why I put it in there, so.
You know, going
We
through
chatted
that,
about that,
through this, there's a lot of questions I have, but I don't think now's the time.
Sure.
I think once you set up these meetings, we get a little more information, then we can have a little more of a discussion then. So I'm going to hold my questions.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting short of time, and I really didn't anticipate an awful lot of that dialogue. I wanted to get it out to all these groups, get their comments back, and then we'll see. Maybe a lot of what they have to say will take care of some of your questions, I don't know. But so, and then get it back to you in a month and keep moving forward.
Mr. Boyd, you're the one that brought it forward. Is that acceptable?
Yes.
To you?
Very good.
Okay, Sharon Hogan, bench request, Dan?
You saw you have the email in your packet. It talks about wanting to move the bench that she had already donated. I guess the email, I think, is fairly self-explanatory. She did donate it to us originally. We have donation.
It was prior to.
Probably prior to that, but it's there now. She'd like to go out. It's up to you.
The bench in question is actually the one up on the screen here, right across from our labor board, if anybody wants to look at it.
So that one would be removed and then be available for somebody else if they wanted to.
True, true. You know, in this case where we haven't replaced any of the slats or anything like that, or done any of the major repairs that we've done to some of the other benches, I wouldn't have an issue in this particular location with this bench if she wanted to, if we wanted to give it back to her, then I'd be all right with that as soon as the council.
She's saying on here that she would take care of removing. I went over and looked and it's bolted down. Can we have somebody in the city truck go
We can.
unbolt it? And not 100% sure. Is she here? Sharon here? She live on 6th Street Southeast? And it's in the city limits. Can we have somebody, I don't know if we approve it, can we have somebody grab it and bring it to them? I mean, if she's saying she'll do it, but It's bolted down.
Right.
One issue I see though, if you take it off and their studs are coming from upward and they're sticking above ground level, it makes for a place to trip. If you bolt out this way, you should seal them up so you don't get water down there in the frost, so.
Anybody else got any questions on that one?
Are we gonna need to do action on this at some point?
Eventually, we would, you want us to put it on the next agenda?
I think so.
Road maintenance agreement, 19th Street, Northwest, Greg?
Yeah, we have a maintenance agreement currently with Pike Creek Township. 13th Street Northwest on the west side of Pine Grove Park. Basically, from Broadway, about 3,300 feet is what we maintain. We own both sides, I shouldn't say own. In the city limits, both sides of the road are within the city limits up to just north of the MnDOT garage. From there to the 1 mile mark, the east side is within the city limits. Up to this point right here, this is in the city limits. This is in Pike Creek Township. So we currently have a maintenance agreement, and I've included that in the packet, that we maintain the road up to the 3,300 mark. And then from there north is what Pike Creek Township maintains. And if you've driven the road, you'll notice there's a culvert in through here, as well as the road is fairly low in regards to the wetland in through there. They're having some difficult times in terms of keeping that pavement in good shape. It's breaking up, it's rutting. And so they'd like to actually turn that back to gravel so that they can try to minimize or limit the amount of heavy truck traffic going on there. There's a couple of places down on the south here that have predominantly semi-truck traffic. And they come off of Highway 10 up here, and take the back roads and back down 13th Street Northwest. And that's beating up the pavement for them. So they'd like to turn it back to gravel to try to discourage that type of traffic. So what we have in front of you tonight basically is discussion. Do we have an issue with them turning that section back to gravel? We would still maintain our portion in terms of blacktop. And I did check with them to see if there was any cost association in terms of, because we own half the road and they own the other half of the road in there. If the city would be expected to pay for any of that portion, they indicated it would not, but they would take care of the cost turning it back to a gravel road.
How much of that would be gravel from?
Basically from where we stop maintaining it, right here at the 3,300 foot mark north. So they would turn the rest of it back to gravel. All the way up to 214.
How far from North Pine Grove Park is that? Would it be a dust issue?
Looks like it's past the ball field.
It's past the ball fields. You know, from the ball fields going south, it's about 1,100 feet from where the gravel would start.
You mean north?
The gravel would start 1,100 feet north of the ball fields.
Okay. Pretty much right past the walking trails then? That are back there?
It would be beyond that.
Okay. And I know that area is hard to maintain because when you're in a lowland like that, it settles and moves a lot. That area is really busted up. My concern in the past has always been, it looks really good on their side, nice smooth roads, and then you hit that spot and then it's a little falls, it's pretty bad. We've never brought that up that we're gonna repair that whole area, and have other roads to work on, so this could alleviate one part of that problem.
Rowan, did you have something on that?
Yeah, I'd like to see it.
I'm Roman with the Pike Creek Township Chair. What we're looking at is 2,000 feet in there. First 3,300 feet off of Highway 27 north, is approximately the same. The next 2,000 feet is, our agreement is that we take care of it. And the final half mile is the joint agreement that we have with Green Prairie and Pike Creek. That part of the road is pretty solid. We have a blowout on there this year. We're gonna come and patch it. We redid that about 6 years ago. We got about 5 inches of blacktop on there. It seems to hold up except for that hold up. The problem we have a lot of military trucks going there, down there, I don't know why. Midnight go beats down that road in that swamp area. That's just like a water bed in there. You go over it, it moves as you drive down it. If we take a look at repairing that and digging it out, we'd almost have to make it into at least a minimum of 7-ton road. We have it posted at 5-ton now, and we can't hold it. And then technically, we'd almost have to go up to 9 ton. If we go up to 9 ton, we're looking at some big money with the wetland area and the whole area in there and widening it. So we think we could get the road under control and keep it in better shape than it is now. If we mill it down, put about 3 inches of gravel on top of the blacktop, mill it in, and keep it graded for that 2,000 miles. We also have a portion in there where in front of O'Day's old place and Rudolph's old place where they got underground water lines going to the 40 across it. We got to dig that out because we got about a 6-inch dip there now, and it shapes up, and we had wheels off of there this year. And I'm not so much afraid of a lawsuit, you know, on a wheel coming off, but if you have a fatal accident, we got to do something with it. And as far as re-blacktopping it, I talked to Steve about it. He said it ain't gonna really hold up at all. Steve Bukowski had him out there, and I talked to him about it. He said it wouldn't hold up. And he kind of agreed with me about the best thing we could do without sticking tons of money at it is turn it back to gravel. And the main person we're doing is, reason for we're doing it is safety, and we don't have the money to go to a 9-ton road to keep it hold up. Got any questions? That's kind of explains it.
Thank you, Ron. Anybody got any questions or concerns?
Self-explanatory.
Another agenda item next agenda, or
Somebody want to do that one to me, Greg?
What's that?
next agenda?
That's a trend, yeah. I've been reading about it. There's a lot of places letting their blacktop go back to gravel rather than trying to keep going.
Greg has one more,
And I'll be quick on this one here. Out at the airport, just off to the side, we're looking at some land purchases out there. Both of the areas, and I set these out in front of you on the table ahead of time. The two parcels that we're looking at acquiring are the ones shaded in yellow here. And so you can see north and south, we're looking at realigning that runway. And so we're looking at purchasing the property on the north and the property on the south. So we have the proper clear zone when we realign that runway. The back of the page there kind of illustrates the areas and the prices, at least the areas of what we're looking at doing. But we do have purchase agreements in place with the two landowners. The one on the north, we're looking at purchasing 9.61 acres in the amount of $77,704. And the parcel on the south, we're looking at purchasing 11.88 acres in the amount of $108,698. And so we're looking for approval tonight to move forward with at least getting the purchase agreements signed so we can set a closing date, because we're kind of under the gun in terms of when we can get grant funds pulled together, because we have a dollar amount that is allocated towards the airport. If we don't use it, we lose it, type of thing. So we want to get these written in place so that we can take advantage of those grant funds. Now there's a 90-10 split for the purchase price of that property, with MinDOT, they also kick in another 5%, so it's really a 95.5, and that 5% is actually split between the city and the county. So our share would be 2.5% of those purchase prices.
Greg, and that 5% is not, it's usually 90-10, but the MnDOT portion could be somewhat temporary. Of course, they all could be, but.
True,
There's a shorter timeline on that, and I would reiterate the fact that 90% those dollars come from trust funds and from tax on airplane fuel and things like that, so it's not the general fund
That's correct, yep.
tax dollars.
This fulfills that crosswinds. We're talking about crosswinds.
That fulfills the right-of-way, the land needed for that crosswind, yes. There is another parcel that we'll be ultimately looking at, that's pertaining more towards the the main runway. But we'll look at that again in the future. That's adjacent to that northern parcel.
So this you wanted to add to the agenda?
I'd like to add to the agenda, it would be a motion, not necessarily a resolution, because ultimately we need a resolution to approve any purchases. Right now, we just want the council approval to move forward with the purchase agreements, because we don't have the legal description fully prepared at this point in time. But like I indicated, we are kind of on a time crunch, that we need to at least get the closing scheduled so that we can take advantage of this grant.